Okay, so around a month ago, I uploaded my Celeste video, and in that month since, I've slowly worked my way up to 100%ing the game. This is what my save file's stats look like in case you're curious, so since a video about the postgame was requested in the comments of the original, let's talk about it. This is Celeste postgame. Now, it can be split into 3 different sections, the B and C sides, farewell, and etc. So first up on our list of discussion is Chapter 8, Core. Now, going into it, I was bracing for impact. A lot of people say this is the worst chapter in the entire game. I respectfully disagree. I think I dislike playing Golden Ridge more. Granted, it doesn't escape the bottom 3, but it's not bad by any means. The story is basically none, but I don't really care about story in this case because it's a post-game chapter. I just think the hot and cold gimmick is executed really well and makes for some really fun rooms. The 2 dash per room gimmick is kinda weird, but I didn't end up minding it as much as I thought I would. The devs managed to incorporate it into the chapter really well, and it doesn't ever feel like you're playing something too different mechanics-wise from the rest of the story. The other thing I'd include here in the etc. section is the Pico 8. It's a pretty cool little side mode, doesn't take too long to finish. I do, however, find it weird that you don't need the strawberries in here for 100%. Then again, you also don't need to get any of the goldens or flags either. Speaking of, thank God, I'm really happy I don't have to do every golden. They get ridiculously difficult pretty damn quick. I got 1A to 5A as well as 1A dashless, and that was not easy. Alright, now for the B sides. Yeah, they're good. I love how they still have mechanics to teach in these. 1 and 2B are relatively easy. I love dream jumping. Is introduced in 2B, and it makes replaying anything with dream blocks so much more fun. Whatever, I'm sure I won't make any eyes widen when I say I enjoyed these and found them to be pretty easy. From here on, though, I did pretty much everything in Call with Ujik, who helped me a lot with strats and stuff like that. 3, 4, and 5B also felt pretty simple. Definitely harder than the previous 3, but nothing too hard. Chapters 3, 4, and 5 in general are a pretty big jump in difficulty from 1 and 2, so the B-sides having the same difficulty jump made perfect sense to me. Now for the final 3. Here's where I started spending a significant amount of time on singular rooms. One of the rooms near the end of 6B took me 15 minutes to get through. 7 and 8B didn't have any rooms that took me way too long from what I remember, but yeah, these are definitely way harder. Regardless of difficulty though, I still think that every B-side is good. 4B is probably the worst one, but that might just be because the music sounds like a bad pop song instrumental. Speaking of, these remixes are generally alright. Outside of Crystally's remix of Celestial Resort and 2Mello's remix of Mirror Temple, which are both fantastic, none of them really stand out much. That's about it for the B-sides. Now it's time for probably my least favorite part of the game. The C-sides are either really easy or ungodly hard. I get that their whole gimmick is that there are only 3 rooms, but still. 1, 2, and 4 are completely unnoteworthy besides the fact that they're still teaching stuff about the dream blocks in 2C. 3C is unhinged, and that final room is an actual gauntlet. I spent like 8 minutes on the first room of 5C and then fluked almost the entire rest of it, so you know, that's awesome. 7C's final room is also unhinged, and I somehow only spent 35 minutes on it despite Ujik telling me I'd spend 50. 8C somehow took me longer, even though the final room is probably a lot easier, but that's really about it for the C-sides. I found a decent amount of the later ones to just be one giant really hard room. 8C is amazing, but the others I wouldn't really like to beat again. In my original video, I say that during the main story, I found very few rooms where after I was done with them I thought to myself, thank God I don't have to do that again. Add to that list a couple of these C-side rooms. 3C and 5C's first rooms are good examples of this. Same for 7C and 8C's final rooms, despite me liking 8C. Whatever, let's move on to our final thing to discuss. Farewell is a spectacular chapter. It's not my favorite in the game, though. At least in my opinion, Old Sight and Reflection beat it out due to simply being paced better. Farewell moves along extremely slowly. The entire chapter has like 7 cutscenes in it, and it took me 5.5 hours. That means you'll sometimes spend over an hour purely platforming without advancing in the story, and that leads to barely feeling like you're making progress. The story that does exist here, though, is amazing, and I love how it ties into 7C. Another thing I'd like to mention about Farewell is that the middle chunk of it is by far the weakest. The beginning hour and a half or so is amazing. It introduces both the setting and the new stuff really well, and the final hour is one of the best parts of the entire game, right up there with stuff like Madeline's boss fight, the gondola scene in Golden Ridge, and Madeline's conversation with Theo at the beginning of Reflection. The final room feels like such a triumph when you finally do it. It's so rewarding. The music that plays during this section too is also probably in my top 3 tracks from this game. It's just goddamn Event Horizon and Determination that make up such a big part of the chapter. Oh, and by the way, here's a funny fail I had on the final room of Farewell since I recorded it.
Okay. That's such a Daniel thing to do.
Great.
It's so naive to me. Don't say it's over until it's over. Don't say I'm dead until I'm dead. I'm dead.
Don't worry, I only spent like 10 to 15 more minutes after that until I beat it. One final thing before we wrap up Farewell, the Moonberry room is arguably harder than stuff like 7C and 8C's final rooms, or hell, even Farewell's final room. I don't know how, but I struggled on it a lot. Anyway, that's really about it. Celeste's postgame is really good as well, as expected, really. I'm a bit bummed I didn't find Farewell the flawless masterpiece everyone else found it to be, but I'm also really grateful I had a seemingly way better experience with the B and C sides compared to everyone else. Yeah, that's about it. Thanks for watching. Goodbye.